Just your name, really.
My name,
We know who you are.
I've been called lots of things, but my name's Boydie or Dave Boyd.
And can we ask how old you are, Dave?
I'm now 63.
63. Good age.
The same year I started surfing, 1963.
Yep. Okay. What was your first surfboard?
My first surfboard was an 8'10" Quain. No,
Really?
Dunlop.
Dunlop.
Was it a Quain? It was a Dunlop, I think, and it was too short. It kept spinning out, so I had to get a longer board.
It wasn't long enough for you.
I bought it from the place down in Cameron Street on the lower end and the right hand
Probably a
side.
hardware shop or somewhere, or was it?
McCoy and Thomas.
McCoy and Thomas, right. Yeah.
42 pounds.
You've got a good memory.
Yeah.
Okay, where did you start surfing?
I first surfed on that board on Labour Weekend, 1963, and I had 1 to 2 foot surf, glassy, and I stood up the first wave,
Yeah.
and it's cost me a lot of money since then.
So you were hooked at that point, or?
I was hooked.
Yeah.
Totally hooked, yeah. I was going to buy a set of drums and be a Ringo star, but I bought a surfboard instead, because I had the nose for the Ringo, but I figured, no, I'm going to go surfing. So I went surfing.
Now, Taree Surf Club, I think you remember.
I was.
What can you remember about that?
Oh, mate, it's probably better not to remember.
Were you one of the ones that hooked?
Yeah, I was one of the ones that helped destroy the odd hall.
Yeah, at the socials.
Yeah, the socials.
Yeah.
It was a good club, and there were some good mentors that we didn't follow, the likes of Tui Wordley, you know, but we were the young wild kids that sort of came in, I suppose you could say.
Yeah. So did you go to that social at Old Boys Club rooms?
Yeah, we watched that with a...
And someone stole a keg, the yachty stole a keg, but they got it back. Then were you at the Onarahi one where they had one at Onarahi, and there was the cops closed that one down because someone did some damage somewhere.
I probably was, and that may have been me.
No.
I don't know. But yeah, I think if there was something happening, I would have been there. But I can definitely remember the Old Boys one, because I remember people being sick on the floor, and Ken Berry it may have been, or John Blockfield, got the fire hose and started squirting the place down, and bottles got
No doubt all the people as well.
Oh yeah, it was pretty wild.
Yeah. So did
we
you?
never got the same hall twice, I don't think.
I don't know why that was though.
I'm not sure actually.
So you were a member. Did you have the old sticker on your car?
I've got a sticker on my surfboard, and I don't know if I didn't have a car. I don't think back then. No.
So you did, so what was your first car?
My first car was a 1952 dark blue Ford Prefect, the ones that like to fall over on corners.
Yes, yeah.
And I used to have to ride the clutch in first gear to get up the Brindurans, because I was living in Auckland occasionally.
So you had a roof rack on
I
that?
had a roof rack on that. Yeah.
Was it one with the suction things, or did you have a proper?
Oh heck, I don't know. Don't ask me that. Right?
Okay, all right.
We're talking 47 years. Suction caps on the roof rack, for goodness sake.
It must be a funny story you can tell about Taree Surf Club, or something there that sticks out in your mind in those days.
I don't know. Just the parties were wild, I can remember that.
Yeah.
And I was just a 16, 17-year-old kid back then, and you know, it was a pretty big deal. But
having the time of your life, probably like most of us.
But yeah, I really took to surfing, and I can remember one time having a contest out at Waipu Cove, and it was about, probably was sort of 4 to 7 feet surf, and very, very glassy, incredibly glassy, and very foggy. And I can remember sitting out there next to Tui Wordley. I don't know whether I was in his heat or I can't have been, but just almost too scared to take off.
Yeah. I wonder if that was that first contest, because that was foggy.
Yeah, it must have been.
It might have been, yeah.
And I'm talking, it must have been 64 or 65, 66, you think?
66 a contest was, but I think...
No, I was a bit older by then.
Yeah. So, I don't know, it might have been earlier.
Might have been just a surf.
Yeah. So, do you have a wetsuit or a rugby jersey when you started
had a
surfing?
jersey, yeah, tight jersey. I can remember going out at Sandy Bay when I must have been maybe 17 with Craig Parvin and Terry Paul, Rua.
Yeah.
And I can remember we went out and there was frost on the grass. We're talking middle of July or something. And we went out in a pair of shorts. We had nothing, we had a pair of shorts. And I remember coming in because I had a headache and I was feeling really sick about an hour and a half later. Now that must have been hypothermia, because we got changed outside Frank's place, and I can remember we were sitting in the car for about 2 hours just freezing.
Trying to warm up, yeah.
And
Real man.
hypothetically, we must have had, well, technically, we must have had hypothetically.
Yeah, well, no one's wearing wetsuits in those early days. Eh?
No.
Best surfboard?
Best surfboard?
Yeah.
Probably the one I got now.
One you got now. Have you had a good surfboard that you regretted selling at any stage, or not really?
I took a Roger Land, was it, or no, what did I take over to Australia? I can't remember what I took to Australia. I had a really good 7'2" board when I went to Aussie in 1968.
Yeah.
That was a really, really good board. But yeah, pretty much the same shape
So,
as what
so what are you riding now?
I'm riding a 7'2" sort of mini mill. It's not a fat nose. It's got a lot of rocker all the way through it.
Yeah.
And top and bottom, and it's a really fast, good board.
So
Part hour, it's just smoking.
So what makes that?
It's a Roger Hall.
Roger Hall surfboard.
Good nose rider.
Yep. So you probably know him quite well. He'd know you, how your surfboard is.
Yeah, he does, yeah.
Yeah. Best rides, one of those days you can remember that the surf was perfect and you were super fit, or...
Yeah. Well, it's interesting enough, this isn't the best wave by any chance, but there's a wave of me on Part Hour on YouTube, 1972, with this Colin Lowe, and I'm doing quite a long ride. I can remember that ride.
Yeah,
and when I first saw it on YouTube a few years ago, I thought, I can remember that.
Yeah, it stands out as a good ride.
Best wave.
Well, best waves, yeah.
Probably some of the best surf I've had would definitely have to be Part Hour.
Part Hour, yeah.
I've had some long nose rides at Part Hour. I've had some long nose. I like nose riding. Best wave. I had some fantastic surf at. I can remember taking off at Snapper Rocks in 1968 and kicking out at Coolangatta Beach.
Yeah.
And that was not the super bank. That was doing all 3 bays and just getting across Green Mountain Point.
That's a long way.
That's a long ride, and feeling my legs were tired by the time I got into halfway through Green Mountain Point onto the beach here. But that was some of my best surf.
So did you go shippies much when you were in younger days, or?
Yeah. Yeah, never been a fan of going backhand.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But what do you mean, of course? You've
No,
seen me go.
No, yeah.
I just like going forehand, but yeah, I had a lot of good surf at shippies in the when Ken
Berry?
no, those 3 Aussie guys, Bob Hagner, Wayne Charlton, and Ken, someone else. We went up there about 1965, had a lot of good surf.
Yeah. So no leg rope. So did you go around the rocks or not? Really?
Yeah, not really. Didn't used to.
Didn't have to. Really.
I can remember one time. I think Brian King and I, or Billy and I, hitchhiked up there one day, a midweek day, and those Nursey sisters that used to surf. There were three sisters or 2 sisters that surfed that were nurses.
Were they from Wongaray?
Wongaray girls.
Yeah.
Johnson girls, was it?
Oh,
well, they were on the beach with 2 surfboards just watching, and it was a good 4 to 6 feet offshore, as good as I've ever seen it, and we borrowed their boards, and that was a fantastic surf.
Yeah, so borrowed boards.
Borrowed boards, yeah.
So what do you think made you take up surfing? Is it just the era, or?
Well, I don't know. I never saw a surf mag or a movie or anything like that. I just, I don't know.
You didn't see Gitch at the movie and decide that's what you wanted
Possibly.
to do?
Who knows?
Yeah. Just because everyone was doing it, sort of?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, there weren't a lot of people doing it back then, was there?
Yeah, no.
I mean, there was the older crew, the Ross Edge crew.
Yeah.
But you would have started about the same time as me, didn't you?
About the same time, yeah.
Yeah,
I
both
can't
of us sort
remember.
of started around about 63, aren't we?
Yeah. Well, I'll ask them, you started about, you told me about the first car. What, I guess, like me, most of our cars didn't seem to last long, so did you have what sort of car after the prefect did you have?
What sort of car did I have after the prefect? I had a green Beetle, which ended up with a white patch painted on the bonnet, because I had 4 guys on the gravel road heading out to Part Hour, 4 guys and 4 boards, and we came over this little rise, and there was a herd of cows walking across the road. We were going like a bat out of hell. Slammed on the brakes and slid right up to this cow, knocked it off his feet, sat on my bonnet. So we got home, kicked it out, and painted it with white paint, and that was
That was it.
That was the mark.
The V-Dub was a great surfing car.
Good
right?
surfer car,
Not very fast.
Rolled it and rode it off eventually on the same road.
I had one when I lived at Munga, and man, they could corner on the metal roads, and it wasn't much. Now, you were telling me earlier, I've got just a question about surf accidents, and I can remember this one that you talked about earlier, that the Sandy Bay, it was a Hardy club contest, and can you just tell me what happened, because I know there was a hell of a lot of blood.
Yeah, I was out, a lot of blood. I didn't like blood, but there it was. I was on a left-hander, and I did a reverse island pull-out where you go like that, but you flick your body this way, and the board came around, hit the wave, went under the water, I came up, where's the board? Whack! Right between my eyes, 8 stitches. And it was a pretty, must have looked horrible because it felt real bad. I put my fingers up and hello, there's a hole there.
So that was the end of your heat. Did you carry on your heat, or did you say
that? No, they shoved me in the back of Ken Berry's Plymouth and
took you
off to the doctor to get some stitches.
Favourite New Zealand surf trip? Have you had a
favourite? Well, I've never surfed Gisborne, never surfed Raglan, never surfed
Raglan. That surprised me.
Yeah, surfed Port Waikato quite a bit. Did a trip one day from Sandy Bay to Port Waikato and back to Sandy Bay that night for surf. That was a bit.
That's a good trip.
That was a pretty good trip. But
Yeah.
back then, I mean, going to Taupo Bay was a trip, or shippies and that sort of thing. Best surf trip was probably to Noosa in 1968, where I had the tea tree to myself at 45 feet. That was an epic.
So, favourite beach? It's got to be Pardau. I know what you're going to say.
It's got to be Pardau, but I mainly surf Paradise Bay a lot of the time now. Well, I love the cove. When the cove's breaking behind the point and you can nose right across that point, I love it. A lot of memories, but definitely Pardau. I want to be.
The boards were a bit of a legend at Pardau, because you and your 3 sons out there, and it was hard to get away even with the 4 of you there.
It was hard to get away. We did the right job. If you had myself and Colin Lowe on water at Pardau, you're guaranteed to be hassled.
Colin would start yelling.
Being a little guy, no one wanted to smack me in the mouth, so that was okay.
Funny story about you. You've probably got hundreds of funny stories, but is there anything that springs to mind? Something stupid that's happened, or over the years
It's got to be a long list of stupid, but
anything that stands out that you can remember?
Oh heck, about surfing?
Yeah, or anything, just something that.
Oh no, I can't really.
You've never lost.
We'll come back to that one.
Yeah,
never lost one.
Never lost your surfboard at Pardau and it's gone way up the river or the board or anything like that.
Never had. Never lost my trunks.
Yeah. You would have seen some boats came out while you surfing.
I had some things I didn't want to be in, like that happened that I didn't want to see. I can remember one time surfing way back at Horror. And this guy lost his board. American guy was, and I pushed it to him fin first, and he was swimming and he didn't know I'd done it, and he went like that and just opened his whole hand up on the fin. And it was my fault. And I felt so bad, somebody had to take him to hospital. But that wasn't a funny one, but well, think about that. Now, we had some very crazy, some things that I wouldn't want to repeat.
Something that springs to mind was Drew Campy's car. I know he had an old Holden, and he'd say, "Oh, do you want to come to the beach?" And I'd try and figure out if it was a metal road beach or a tar seal beach, because you could see the ground and it had so much dust coming on it. There's no way you wanted to go on a metal road in his car. It was just a shocker, absolute shocker.
I can remember, and you might have been involved in this, or another particular one, coming back from Wananaki in once again, probably Ken Berry's car, or this might have been Billy Player's car, but stopping at Hikarangi and getting a whole lot of eggs and yogurt, and waiting for the other guys to come through and just pelting the heck out of their cars with eggs and yogurt.
That's the sort of thing you did, though.
Riding in Whangarei looking like a mess. And I don't know whether I was in the car when this happened. I sort of had vague memories of it when I think it was Dak's car pulled up at the lights at Bank Street. He had a big old 40, what was that car? Big black
Chevy or Plymouth or
straight 8, Buick.
Buick,
And I think it was his car. He slammed on the brakes at the Bank Street lights and the rack came off with all the surfboards on, big old boards. slid right across the road and nearly went through the window at Mallett's, you know.
Well, and was this, what did you say, a Friday night or was it?
I think, no, it was just a day, Saturday or something like that. You know.
In front of everyone.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, great
But,
sort, yeah.
It was a lot of good fun like that.
And he still surfs too. I've run into him a few times,
Yeah.
He surfs very well too.
Mm.
While I'm doing this, while I think of it, while I'm trying to interview a few guys that tied up with surfing, is there anyone that you can think that would be a must in your eyes that you've got to interview?
Billy Player.
Billy Player.
Definitely Billy Player.
Yeah.
You know, Colin.
Yeah. Colin Lowe.
Yeah. Brian King.
Yeah.
Guys with keen memories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lucky I've got most of those guys' names written down here, so I will be able to track them all down. So
I've got Bill's phone number again.
oh yeah. So, and he's down Wellsford way.
Yeah.
I'll get his number off.
Yeah. He only has so good memories. You know.
Chris Fraserhurst's another one that
Yeah.
I've got to do too.
I can remember, this is not a funny memory, but I can remember seeing Bruce Ryan in winter out at Ocean Beach in the water for 5 hours straight.
In the winter, yeah. No
wetsuit.
No wetsuit.
No wetsuit. He was always a bit padded, but 5 hours, I couldn't believe it. You know,
It's
it was
unbelievable.
one Sunday afternoon.
Yeah. You wouldn't even want to do it now, would you? I wouldn't. I couldn't.
Oh, I couldn't do it now.
No. Couple of hours is enough for me. Well, that's pretty much it, though. That's
it, mate.
Yeah. That's brilliant.
Oh,
just it's great to just get like we all surfed in our own little groups, but everyone's got a little different story to tell. So
yeah, what I liked about that, they're not from a male point of view though, but it was really neat to see so many young girls that were surfing. I mean, you know, there was a whole lot of girls surfing.
Yeah, there was.
Then.
Yeah,
and there probably, in fact, there is now. You know?
Yeah.
But they sort of caught on to it as much as we did. In a lot of ways.
Yeah. It's still
there was a lot of rivalry between us and Surf Syndicate.
Yeah.
I can remember. Embarrassing moments. I can remember surfing at Waipu Cove on a Saturday, reasonably crowded, and Wayne Parks and Taff Kennings and Dave Carter and Jim Carney and Joyce Hoffman turned up.
Yeah.
And that must have been about 1966, I suppose. And this was our beach, Waipu Cove.
Yeah.
So dropping in was not a problem. But I can remember one time I was nose riding thinking I'm doing all right, and the next minute from behind me, push, and it was Joyce Hoffman, world's woman champion surfer. So that was sort of quite an honour.
So you think she was doing a tour of New Zealand at that stage?
Yeah, she was with Wayne.
Yeah. That would have been an honour.
What is it?
You didn't want to turn around and punch her or anything?
No. Well, I never punched anyone. I'm not an aggressive person.
No.
But, I have done my share of dropping in, and I apologise. But when it's your home beach party, you sort of have a bit of a right.
And family members, you're allowed to. That's what I used to tell Simon and my daughter anyway. Yeah.
But I would if I dropped in, and I'd usually have the next wave where I'd say, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
There's aggressive dropping in where it's really aggro, and there's just selfish, dropping in, and I was probably more of a selfish dropping in.
It's pretty good nowadays, so I haven't had much problem. I don't think you probably.
Well, I was out at Currumbin about a month ago, and there was about 35 guys in the water. It was only sort of 2 to 3 feet, but everyone was very courteous. And I said to this young kid, I said, I can't believe how courteous you guys are. He said, what do you mean? I said, well, if I was here 40 years ago, you dropped in on someone, you get a smack in the mouth. He said, we'll go down and snap a rock. She'll get a smack in the mouth if we drop in and anyone there.
It's a
totally different atmosphere.
Yeah. That hasn't really come here so much as...
Well, I can remember a fist fight between Colin and Titch Williams out at Ocean Beach one day.
Yeah.
But they were like-minded personalities. And
no one wanted to back down or something.
Yeah, both good surfers, so it didn't happen. But no, it's been, for me, it's been nearly 47 years.
Yeah.
And I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Skin's paying for it now, but hey,
it's hard. You're like me. It's hard to say why you do it, but I think it's just the thrill of catching that ride and thinking, man, I've done a good ride, and
it's
I'm really
totally
happy
addictive. I was talking to Ryan about it on the weekend. He gets a lot of surf, and I said, how long do you go without surf? He said, not long. I said, it's addictive, eh? He said, yeah, it is.
Yeah. He's a brilliant surfer too.
He's a very good surfer.
Yeah.
But no matter how good a wave you get, the next day you're looking for another one.
Yeah.
And so that can be a bit of a problem for some people.
That's brilliant. All right, Dave, that was fantastic. I appreciate you giving me the time of day.
It was a pleasure, Laurie.
Yeah.
Pity I couldn't remember some of
No,
the
no,
stuff.
but what I've been telling to any guys, if you know, after this, if you come up with a funny story or something, just write it down and drop me a note, and then that'd be fantastic. And
Yep.
I don't know really why I'm doing this, but I just, for a long time, I've
Yep.
just wanted to put something together of just local surfers and the fun and what, I don't know, I think it was the time, and Ian Butt said it was the Beatles, and it was a fantastic time to be a teenager in the early
Yep.
60s, and you can't put a finger on it, but I enjoyed it, yeah.
It was a freedom thing that
Yeah.
our parents never had.
No, that's right.
And
yeah.
it was footloose, it was fancy free, it was freedom, it was back to nature, it was, you know,
People didn't lock their houses, that's the
No.
sort of a time it was, and people can't believe that now, you know,
No.
yeah.
we probably caused them to start locking their houses. No, we didn't do that. Erase that. But it was, there's something about, I mean, I do a lot of fishing as well.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I've been through some stuff in my life. And,
Yeah.
but when you get out in the water, whether it's fishing or surfing,
You just
everything
forget about it,
goes.
it's gone, eh?
It's gone. It's like you've had a glass of wine when you get home.
It's
and
probably like
everything's
going to a
gone.
psychiatrist, let's face it, something like that.
It's incredibly
got off.
therapeutic.
Yeah, it's
And
got to be.
it washes your sinuses out, and it's a really healthy thing, and it's a good workout.
Yeah.
And you know,
I
I
think
think it's
you hit the
fantastic.
nail on the head there.
Yeah, and I think you should put that in here.
Yeah, I'll
That's-
have-
it is. I think that it's. I think the generation that never surfed and missed out on surfing really missed something.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, we're going to pay for it with our skin, perhaps. I mean, I am,
yeah.
and you know, but I wouldn't give it up for anything.
Well, I think when you're over 60s and you're excited to get up in
Oh.
the morning and go for a wave,
Yeah.
and you feel like a 16-year-old,
Yeah.
15-year-old, that's how I feel, and
Well,
especially if you catch a good wave and
Yep.
some kids paddling out's about 15 say, man, that was a good ride.
Mm.
You grow another 6
Yeah.
feet and you feel good. So
well, I was up at Rarawa last Christmas, and John and Mary Ralph, who are my age,
yeah,
and we've been surfing together for, I don't know, 1,000 years. And we were on this break. It was okay, but there was a better break about 40 metres down where there was about 6 young kids, like 18-year-olds, girls and guys.
yeah,
And I said, I'm going to go and give that a shot. You know, I paddled down there and, you know, the grey hair and all that sort of stuff, and paddling towards this young girl. And I said, oh, Grandpa's arrived now. And then John and Mary started to paddle over before I caught my first wave. I said, and now Grandma and Grandpa are here. And she sort of laughed and thought, oh, yeah. Anyway, I went to catch my first wave, and 2 of these guys went to drop in on me.
yeah,
And I thought, what? And I caught my wave, and they dropped in.
yeah.
And I thought, okay, I can play that. But anyway, my next wave I caught was a fantastic wave. Just had a good wave, and I surfed it well. And they stopped. They didn't do any more of that, you know.
No, they got
And that's the
no
neat
respect.
thing about being old,
Yeah.
is that A, they're not going to punch your lights out, but if you can surf reasonably well, they'll give you the space,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. And I think they think, well,
Yeah.
man, I hope I can do that when I'm
Yeah.
that age, and I think
And you
that does
imagine
come through. So.
When you and I were surfing,
Yeah,
Tui was, let's say we were 16, Tui might have been 21,
yeah, yeah,
and he was an old guy.
yeah,
We thought he was old, you know.
yeah, yeah.
So I just think what a fantastic thing for young kids now to be, you know, 30. I've surfed with 12 and 13-year-old kids, and
Yeah.
we're all having a good time.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like we're level, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Brings something out.
It's
That's
good.
brilliant, Dave.
Okay.